Good morning. I'm here with my friends Ladey and Abbirose Adey, and in a few moments you're going to understand that they don't live in the United States, which is really fun. Ladey and I met 3 or 4 years ago through an authors group that we're both part of, and then the next year I got to meet Abbirose when they released the second part of their first book, which was an adult coloring book. So I'm going to let you tell them about them. But today we're going to be talking about their newest book, Little Unicorn, What's Your Name? And here's my copy of it. So let me turn it over to Ladey and Abbirose. Why don't you introduce yourselves real briefly?
I am Ladey. It's great to go over the pond, as it were, and you talk to other parents and people who just love doing the best they can for their children.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Abbirose. I'm a teacher, and it's great. I'm really pleased to be talking to you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. What inspired you to write the Little Unicorn book?
A few reasons, really. One, we enjoy working together and we wanted to write a book. And unicorns are everywhere at the moment. So
Absolutely.
That was one of the reasons we chose a unicorn as our central character. So, yeah.
You know, and Abby was just saying, every time she went to the class, there'd be a unicorn, somebody would be wearing it, or
pencil cases, everything.
And we've just finished doing Colours of Unfrozen, which, as you mentioned, is a colouring book. We've started a colouring group, and we've got a Facebook colouring page.
Yes.
So it makes sense to keep the theme of colours. So this first little unicorn, it has to learn his colours and the days of the week. And we set it for a particular age group as well.
Yeah, because of it was the story of the unicorn, we aimed at sort of 4 to 7 year olds, so they're beginning to sort of decode the words themselves and just really understand. And I like teaching that age group because they still have that sense of make believe and can play with what's going on.
Absolutely. I love their imaginations. I love encouraging my grandchildren who are that age. I love encouraging their imaginations. So Abbirose, I'm going to ask you as a teacher, why is it important? I know that this book is designed to be read aloud with your children. So even if they don't fit in that 4 to 7 age range, it's still important to read aloud to them. Why is that?
Well, one, it's good to make sure that they get the fluency of how the words fall all together and make sure they are decoding the words and understanding what it is they're reading. But one of the main things that we think is really important, even for older children, is that connection you get when you actually read with a child. And
Absolutely.
It opens up a whole world of questions. And the book might just be a springboard to addressing issues that you couldn't approach in any other ways.
Oh, I love that. One of the things I loved to do when my children were little was to sit down and read with them. It was about the only time during the day they would sit and snuggle with me, especially as they got a little bit older. And, when I had one child, it was really easy. I could just pile them on my lap and grab a handful of books. And then as we had more children, it became a little bit more challenging. But there was nothing like trying to get my arms around the kids and hold the book and read to them and listen to their giggles and their questions. So I love that about this book. There was something, go ahead.
Life is so busy, and sometimes a bedtime story, the time you're reading with your child or your grandchild or whoever you're reading to, sometimes that's the only still moment you get, because it's gymnastics club, cricket club, well, over here it's cricket club, soccer, baseball, there's always something going on. There's no time just to relax into and enjoy, and that bedtime story is that moment you can share together.
Oh,
it is something that, as if you've been read to as a child, you remember. So Abbirose remembers my father, her grandfather, reading a little ladybird book, particularly Jack and the Beanstalk. I remember him reading to me, and particularly when you have a story that is quite repetitious.
Yes.
This is a younger child. Little Unicorn has a flow and a rhythm, and so that the child can begin to start repeating it with you.
Yes.
As they learn their colours and
yes.
Of that.
Yeah, I love that.
If you get it wrong or you don't get this one right, then the child will come and tell you, no, And I think my father used to do it on purpose, didn't he?
I think so. But I deliberately sometimes get something wrong if I'm reading aloud to a class, just to make sure they are there with me, and then they start taking over, and it becomes them leading the session rather than me leading it, which is what you want, that independent learning as well.
That's right. I remember growing up, I had a favorite book that I have not been able to find now. I think it's out of print, and I've searched and searched and searched for it. But my mother said that she eventually had to throw the book away because it literally was in tatters, because it was my favorite book. And I remember with my kids growing up, we had a Dr. Seuss book that was their favorite. And every night we read it. Huh?
Was it Green Eggs and Ham, or was it
No, it was
Socks and Socks.
Oh, what was it? Well, one of them was Who is My Mother, which was actually by P.D. Eastman. But the other one was, and I just went blank on it. And I've read it so it was Wacky Wednesday. That's what it was. And because everything's upside down. Everything's backwards and upside down. And they just would giggle all the way through it. They would laugh. But I would do the same thing. I would try to mess up the story. And then they would correct me. No, Mom, that's not how it goes. This is how it goes. And the other favorite was The Little Engine That Could. And we read that one and read that one and read that one. And I ended up having to buy a new one for my grandchildren at my house because the other one was in tatters. So I love that. I love the whole encouraging parents to read aloud because, as you said, Abbirose, life is so busy right now that we don't take time to stop and relax and rest and be quiet. And this is a wonderful way to help encourage that.
Actually, reading when they're little. So when they are sort of 4, 5, 6 and younger, it's night. We have no problem putting them on our laps and reading aloud to them. But actually, we need to remember that we need to read with our older children as well, and not just let them read to us, read to them, because they're still learning how the flow of language works and how to project their voices when talking to people. So by reading aloud to them and with them, it's modelling that still. And it is still another way to keep that bond, because as they get into their teens, they're pulling away and pulling away and pulling away. But actually, if you continue to keep reading with them all the way up until those teens, they don't want to, but they actually still want to. So it's really important, all that. And we still read together, like especially around Christmas time. We've got a couple of special books that we each take a turn reading a page, and it's still nice.
Yes, I mean, my daughters are in their 30s, and our Christmas Eve tradition is to read the night before Christmas, and we all take a turn to read a page of that.
And even if we're in the same room, we've got video, FaceTime, everything else, and we all read a page together. So
that's awesome. Well, there was something on your copyright page that caught my attention, and I just wanted to ask you about it. And it was, you used a very specific font in this book for people with dyslexia. Why? What is that about?
Well, I have dyslexia,
okay.
but didn't realise till I was much older. My other daughter has dyslexia, and we just thought, well, we not only do we want this book to be read with the child, we want, when the child becomes to an age where they're reading themselves, and so they can enjoy it as an independent reading book.
Okay.
So it has a longer lifetime. It doesn't matter, anyone who hasn't any sight or reading problems, it doesn't matter to them what the font is. But for somebody who has, just keeping a very, very simple, very black font.
Okay.
Why we use Verdana for this one.
Yes, and Verdana is a real blocky, black, heavier looking font. So it is very easy to read through. As I was looking at the font, because like I said, that caught my attention, and so then I was paying attention to that as I read through the book. So I also noticed in the back of the book that you referenced that there's some other things coming for the little unicorn. Can you tell us about that?
You go for it.
Go for it. Yes, I mean, we do. We thoroughly enjoy working together. Abbirose does a lot of the illustrations. I think I did one part of the illustrations in the Little Unicorn story. I do the layout, and the story, one of us has a pass at it, but we'll spark ideas. So we're tossing up whether we're going to do Little Unicorn and the Nativity, or Little Unicorn and the Garden of the Eden next. So it depends whether we can get it out for Christmas or whether we can get it out for Easter. Depends which way we go.
So we'll be watching for those.
Yeah, the words are written. It's the the story and the flow is all there. It's just illustrating from scratch is quite intensive, and you have to. And if it's not right, you can't use it.
Okay. So Abbirose is working away at these. Now you're in the UK, and this was published in the UK, but where can the United States readers, Canadian readers, get this?
I think the best way is through Amazon.
Okay.
If they want a signed copy and they don't mind some time and paying for the shipping, we can arrange that.
Okay.
Contacting us directly. But anyone who, whether they get it from Amazon or not, we've actually got some additional digital packs.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us about those?
Well, you write to Little Unicorn, and Little Unicorn will write a letter back to the child.
Oh, sweet.
And will include colouring pages, recipes, and what the unicorn name is. Everyone can have a unicorn name, so that's quite fun. So we send that. And what else is on there?
How to draw a unicorn.
Yeah.
And the colouring pages, because in the back of the book as well, there's a page with the unicorn in it. It's ready there for you to colour, but we've got another page that you can colour as well digitally. So,
Okay.
And they've got words where they can practice some writing, so they can practice writing the colours.
Yep.
The colours, they are the English spelling, I have to say. Just in case when we say the word colours, it's with a U.
Yes.
So I apologise to your parents on that one. That's a learning curve for a child as well, to know that language has different spellings in different countries.
That's right. Abbirose, when we were talking originally, you told me a sweet story. You guys had the opportunity to participate in a book fair just a couple weeks ago, and you told me a sweet story about a little girl who wasn't really in this age group, but something happened.
Yeah, she was just at the top end. She was 7 years old, so when in our school, that's when they sort of go on to their juniors. She's right at the top end, and she looking through the book with her mother, and they were reading it through, and she's like, "Oh, it's a bit old for you. It's a bit old." And they were flicking through, and she was reading it to herself, and then she got to a page, and she just got the book and went and hugged it, and you could just see this look of loving the picture. I think it was the one where he's actually looking at you out of the page at the reader
And says, "What's your name?"
What's your name? And she just the expression on her face was just pure joy. And Mum just went, "No, you're too old for it, put it down." And then she was, "But I really want it." And it was like Mum was having this battle that she was not going to shift at all. And then eventually she said, "Well, you have to ask your father because he's got the money." And then we watched all the way around. This little girl kept looking back to us, and she was trying to get Dad's attention. I think Mum had said something like, don't give in, don't give in. And they were trying to entice her with other books, and she just was not wanting to look at the book. Fairly, there were quite a lot older books. There were novels, and it would have been a real challenge for her to sort of read them.
Yes.
The intensity. And then we watched her keep going, and she got to the door, and they went out, and her last look was back at us, and we were like, "Okay, that's it gone. That's done."
And it was right at the end of the day. You know, everyone was just about to pack up.
Yeah.
And then they turned around, came back in,
And Dad came with her, and Dad said, "Okay, here you are. What book?"
So she had tears of joy at the end, and she was just so excited about having this book. So yeah, and that was made the weekend. Actually, that's the best bit of the whole weekend.
Oh yes, I can see how that would have made your weekend. It would have made mine. I would think I'd still be smiling without even being able to talk.
It was really showed us that parents don't realise that kids can just read for enjoyment. As adults, we don't always select a book that's going to stretch our brain, or that we have to go and look up words all the time. If we are studying, yes,
right.
we do. But we pick up a book because we want to enjoy it, we want to relax, and it should be the same for children. And reading helps children to write. The better the reader, the more likely they are going to write well, because they use the patterns and they model books. In school, you get a poem or something, and quite often the teacher goes, okay, we're going to use this poem as our starting point, but we're going to change it and make our own. So it's there as a leaping point. And lots of parents don't understand that. And
That's right.
Yeah, because that child could use Little Unicorn and change it. It can be her pet, it could be something else. Or she could play with the colours or put something else in as her imagination went forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that story. I know as a parent and even as a grandparent, I have fallen into that. Well, that's too easy for you. And not remembered how much I just love to pick up even a book I have read before. I already know the ending, but I just delight in the story. And I forget that children need to be able to delight in the story as well. So that's the reason I love this story of this little girl. I can just picture what is going on, and I love that. So
development things are happening in the brain with reading, with that language. And and the imagination.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I think that's what I love about this as I read through it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be fun to read with my grandchildren. And is that the sparking of the imagination. With all of the electronics that we have that make this possible, that we can talk across the pond and actually see each other. Also, but that tends to, if this is all we do, that tends to decrease our imagination. We're not, I love ebooks, but they're not my favorite. I still go back to these. There's something about holding the book in my hand. But if our children aren't challenged to use their imagination, who's going to be the inventors? Who's going to be doing that? So that's one of the things that I do love about this Little Unicorn book. So what's the best way? You mentioned that there are bonuses that you have available for people who purchase your book. How do they reach you? What's the best way?
I think the best way is through the website, which is ladyabbey.com.
Okay.
Or I have a podcast, which is the Ladey Adey Show, which is all about books. And even on that, we have I have a headmistress that I interview, and she talks about the value of reading for a child. So there's a number of ways. My name's unusual. It's Ladey with an E, L-A-D-Y. So you can Google me and all sorts will come up.
I'm going to pop that information up so people will have those two links. And the Ladey Adey Show, and that's a podcast. Can they get that? Where can they get the podcast?
It's literally just, you just put Ladey Adey Show in Google. It's through the Pippa podcast.
Okay.
But you should find me very easily.
I really appreciate your time and this opportunity to show this book. Hopefully a lot of our U.S. readers will jump in and get the Little Unicorn, and they'll be able to read with their children and rediscover that joy. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our U.S.?
We do have a Facebook group. It's The Little Unicorn, isn't it? The Little Unicorn. So, and in that we do, because obviously we have to be careful with younger children, because under 16s, under 13s don't use Facebook or
yes.
But we do put unicorn related things on there. So things about parents reading with their children. So we use that Facebook group in that way too.
Okay. And can anyone join that, or?
Yes, absolutely. It's open.
Yeah, and if anyone does buy the book and wants to take a picture of them reading it with their child and wants to post that up or send that to us, that would be fantastic as well.
That'd be wonderful.
Great. Okay. Anything else?
No, we're just delighted that the parents that your blog reaches, that we're able to share this with them too. So thank you, Kirsten.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to hearing about the next one when it comes out.
Right. We'll let you know.